The space around Kepler Station buzzed with weapons fire. Red laser beams cut through the darkness as two fleets fought each other with deadly purpose. The Valthari Empire ships moved in perfect formation, their silver hulls gleaming under the light of distant stars. Across from them, the Nexus Coalition vessels spread out like a pack of hunters, their dark metal surfaces absorbing light. Fleet Admiral Zethkar watched the battle from his command ship's bridge. His forearms moved across control panels with practiced ease. The Valthari had been fighting the Nexus Coalition for decades over this small sector of space. Today felt like any other day of endless war. "Admiral, our forward scouts report enemy. Reinforcements approaching," his communications officer reported. Zethkar's eyes narrowed. The Coalition always brought more ships when they started losing. "Prepare to engage the new arrivals." "How many ships?" "Sir, the readings are strange. It appears to be only one ship." Zethkar laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "One ship? The Coalition must be desperate." He turned to his weapons systems officer. "Target the newcomer as soon as it drops out of hyperspace." On the other side of the battle, Nexus Coalition Scout Captain Quintal received similar readings on his ship's sensors. Unlike Zethkar, Quintal felt worried. His species had learned to trust their instincts over millions of years of evolution. "Captain, the approaching signature is unlike anything in our databases," his science officer said. "The mass readings are impossible. No ship can be that large." Quintal's 6 eyes focused on the display screen. "Send a message to Fleet Command. Tell them we may need to withdraw." Before anyone could respond, space itself seemed to tear open between the two fleets. What emerged from the hyperspace portal made both sides stop shooting. The ship was enormous. It stretched over 5 kilometers from bow to stern, larger than anything either fleet had ever seen. Its hull was dark gray metal that seemed to absorb light like a black hole. Strange blue energy coursed along its surface in patterns that hurt to look at directly. Admiral Hyunwoo Kim stood on the bridge of the Iron Phoenix watching the alien fleets through the main view screen. After 300 years in exile, humanity had finally returned to known space. His weathered face showed no emotion, but inside, his heart raced with anticipation. "Captain Lee, what's our tactical situation?" he asked. Bora Lee, his tactical officer, studied her displays with sharp eyes. "2 fleets engaged in combat, Admiral. Approximately 40 ships total. Their technology appears to be 3 centuries behind our current capabilities." "As expected," Kim nodded. "Commander Park, how are our systems?" Taemin Park looked up from his engineering station. "All systems operating within normal parameters, Admiral. The new drives are holding steady. We're ready for whatever comes next." Kim took a deep breath. Humanity had spent 3 centuries preparing for this moment. They had been exiled from the galaxy, declared too dangerous to exist alongside other species. The aliens had thought they were protecting themselves by forcing humans to leave. They had no idea what they had really done. Both alien fleets turned, their weapons toward the human ship. Targeting systems locked onto the Iron Phoenix from dozens of vessels. The tension in space was thick enough to cut with a knife. Admiral Zethkar opened communications to both his fleet and the Coalition ships. "Unknown vessel, you have entered a combat zone. Identify yourself immediately or be destroyed. Captain," Quintal added his own warning. "This is Coalition Scout Captain Quintal. You are advised to withdraw immediately. This area is not safe for civilian traffic." Kim smiled slightly. Even now, facing something they didn't understand, the aliens fell back on their old patterns. He gestured to his communications officer. "Open a channel to all ships in the area. All frequencies." So Young Nam, the communications specialist, nodded. "Channel open, Admiral. All ships are receiving." Kim stepped forward, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had commanded fleets in the darkness between stars. "This is Admiral Hyunwoo Kim of the Terran Federation Navy. Humanity has returned. We claim right of passage through this sector." The silence that followed was complete. Even the background hum of ship engines seemed to stop. In that moment, legends became real. On the Valthari command ship, Zethkar's forearms trembled. Every child in the galaxy knew the stories. Humans were the monsters that lived in dark space, the species so dangerous that the entire galaxy had united to drive them away. But those were just stories. Humans were extinct. Everyone knew that. Impossible, Zethkar whispered. Humans died out centuries ago. His science officer's voice shook as he spoke. Admiral, the ship's energy signatures match historical records. This is definitely human technology, but it's far more advanced than anything in our databases. Captain Quintal felt his species' ancient fear response kick in. His ancestors had voted to exile humanity, along with every other major species. The official record said it was for galactic security. The real reason was simpler. Humans learned too fast, adapted too quickly, and fought too well. All ships maintain current positions, Quintal ordered. Do not engage without direct authorization. On the Iron Phoenix, Commander Park monitored the alien ship's power levels. Admiral, both fleets have charged their weapons, but neither side is moving to attack. Their formation patterns suggest confusion rather than aggression. They remember the stories their grandparents told them, Captain Lee observed. 300 years of exile and we still have a reputation. Kim nodded. The question is whether they'll be smart enough to listen to those stories or stupid enough to test whether they're true. Admiral Zethkar made his choice. Pride had always been the weakness of his species. All ships prepare to engage the human vessel. Show them that the Valthari Empire fears nothing. Admiral, respectfully, that might not be wise. His tactical officer warned. Are you questioning my orders? No, sir. All weapons charging. Kim watched the Valthari ships move into attack formation. He felt sad rather than angry. 3 centuries in exile had taught humanity many things. One of the most important was that sometimes you had to demonstrate strength to achieve peace. Captain Lee, prepare a demonstration. Something that will make our point without unnecessary loss of life. Understood, Admiral. Targeting their weapon systems only. The Iron Phoenix moved forward with surprising grace for such a massive ship. Blue energy gathered along its hull as weapon systems that the galaxy had never seen came online. In seconds, the balance of power in the Kepler sector shifted forever. The age of human exile was over. What came next would reshape the galaxy. News traveled fast across the galaxy. Within hours of the Iron Phoenix's appearance in the Kepler sector, emergency sessions were called on dozens of worlds. The message was the same everywhere. Humans had returned. Dr. Yoonji Choi stood in the ruins of New Seoul Colony, one of the last human settlements before the Great Exile. She had spent 5 years studying the abandoned buildings and empty streets, trying to understand what humanity had been like before they disappeared. Now, as she read the emergency broadcasts on her communication device, she realized her research had suddenly become much more important. This can't be real, she muttered, looking at the ancient human structures around her. The buildings were simple but strong, designed to last. Even after 300 years, they stood solid against time and weather. Her research assistant, a young Nexus Coalition citizen named Vectar, approached with obvious worry. Dr. Choi, the Coalition Council has ordered all research teams to return immediately. They're saying humans might be hostile. Unji shook her head. Look around you, Vectar. Does this look like it was built by a hostile species? These people built homes, schools, hospitals. They had families here. Far across the galaxy, Captain Jin Ho Yoon piloted his stealth reconnaissance ship through the Outer Rim territories. His mission was simple: gather intelligence on current galactic politics and military capabilities. What he found surprised him. The galaxy had not grown stronger during humanity's absence. If anything, it had grown weaker. Endless wars between species that could have been allies. Resources wasted on conflicts that served no real purpose. Technology that had barely advanced in 3 centuries. Command, this is Ghost 7. He spoke into his communication system. The galactic situation is worse than we predicted. These species have been fighting each other instead of working together. Their military technology is actually weaker than when we left. The response came from Fleet Command. located somewhere in the darkness beyond the galactic rim where humanity had built their new civilization. Copy Go 7. Continue observation. Do not engage unless absolutely necessary. Jin Ho adjusted his ship's course toward the Nexus Coalition's capital world. His stealth systems made him invisible to their sensors, a technology that humanity had developed during their long exile. 3 centuries of surviving in hostile space had taught them to be very good at staying hidden when they wanted to. So Young Nam worked at her communication station aboard a hidden human listening post. Her job was to intercept and analyze alien communications. The amount of panic in the alien transmissions was almost funny. All coalition fleets are being recalled to defend the core worlds, she reported to her supervisor. The Valthari Empire has declared a state of emergency. Even the smaller species are mobilizing their entire militaries. Her supervisor, an older man named Commander Duxu Huang, nodded grimly. They're scared. 300 years and they still remember what happened the last time someone tried to fight humanity. Sir, should we be worried about them attacking our people? No, Commander Huang replied. They're not mobilizing to attack us. They're mobilizing to defend themselves. There's a difference. On the ancient world of Nexus Prime, Elder Vexhai sat in the council chambers, surrounded by younger politicians who had never lived through the human exile. At over 400 years old, he was one of the few beings alive who remembered humans as they really were, not just as scary stories. Elder Vexhai, the council leader asked, your advice is needed. How dangerous are these returning humans? Vexhai's old eyes looked tired. You're asking the wrong question. The question isn't how dangerous they are. The question is how much more dangerous we made them by forcing them to survive alone in dark space for 3 centuries. What do you mean? When we exiled humanity, they were already the most adaptable species we had ever encountered. They learned faster than anyone else. They solved problems better than anyone else. They fought harder than anyone else. We sent them away because we were afraid of what they might become if they stayed. Vexhai paused. Well, they've had 300 years to become it. In the warrior clans of the Korthak species, War Chief Brakton received the news differently than most. Where other species saw danger, he saw opportunity. The Korthak had always believed that strength determined worth. If humans were truly as powerful as the old stories claimed, then they were worthy of respect. Gather the clan leaders, he ordered his subordinates. We will not cower like the others. If humanity has returned, then we will meet them as equals. His second-in-command looked uncertain. War Chief, the other species are mobilizing entire fleets. Perhaps we should be cautious. Brakton's laugh was like thunder. Caution is for the weak. The humans were exiled because they were strong. Now they return, probably stronger still. This is a time for warriors to show their worth, not hide behind defensive fleets. Back on New Sol Colony, Dr. Choi made a discovery that changed everything she thought she knew about the human exile. Deep in the colony's archives, she found records that had been sealed for centuries, records that showed the real reason humanity had been forced to leave. Vectar, look at this, she called to her assistant. These aren't military records. They're civilian communications, personal messages between human families and their alien friends. Vectar looked at the translated documents. Dr. Choi, these messages, they're full of confusion. The humans didn't understand why they were being exiled. They thought their alien friends would protect them. That's because most humans didn't know about the secret council meetings, Yunji realized. The decision to exile humanity wasn't made publicly. It was made in secret by a small group of leaders who were afraid of human potential. What kind of potential? Yunji pointed to other records in the archive. Look at these reports. In just 200 years of galactic contact, humans had gone from primitive nuclear weapons to technology that rivaled the most advanced species. They weren't just learning from aliens. They were improving on everything they learned. So the exile was about fear of competition? More than that, it was about fear of being left behind. These records suggest that within another century, humans would have surpassed every other species in the galaxy. The secret council decided it was better to exile them than risk that future. Captain Yoon received a priority communication while observing a Valthari military base. Ghost 7, this is Fleet Command. New intelligence suggests multiple alien fleets are converging on the threshold system. You are to return immediately. Understood, Command. Beginning return journey now. Yoon turned his stealth ship toward human space. The threshold system was humanity's forward staging area, their first step back into galactic civilization. If alien fleets were heading there, it meant the time for hiding was over. As his ship jumped to hyperspace, Yoon couldn't help but feel excited. Humanity had spent 3 centuries preparing for this moment. They had built ships that could challenge entire fleets. They had developed technology that seemed like magic to other species. Most importantly, they had learned to work together in ways that the fractured galaxy never could. The aliens were mobilizing their fleets out of fear. But fear was a poor foundation for victory. Humanity had something much stronger: purpose, unity, and 3 centuries of determination to prove they belonged in the galaxy. The next phase of humanity's return was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. The threshold system had been empty space for as long as anyone could remember. 3 small planets orbited a dying star, with nothing valuable enough to claim. It was the perfect place for humanity to make their first real statement. Fleet Admiral Mi Rae Song stood in the command center of the massive space station that humans had built in just 2 weeks. Through the viewing ports, she could see the human fleet taking formation. 50 ships, each one larger and more advanced than anything the galaxy had seen in centuries. Admiral, long-range sensors are detecting the approaching alien fleet, reported her intelligence officer. Estimated time of arrival, 6 hours. Mi Rae nodded calmly. How many ships? Over 300 vessels from 12 different species. It's the largest military force in recorded galactic history. And they're all coming to see 50 human ships, Mi Rae said, with a slight smile. I suppose we should feel honored. Colonel Dong-hyun Kang checked his equipment one final time. As commander of the human marine forces, he had to be ready for anything. The aliens might try to board human ships, though he doubted they would succeed. Still, preparation was what kept soldiers alive. Colonel, do you think it will come to ground fighting? Asked Lieutenant Subin Park, one of his younger officers. Dong-hyun shrugged. The aliens are scared and desperate. Scared and desperate beings sometimes do stupid things. We need to be ready to protect them from their own stupidity. Dr. Hya Jin Lim worked in the research section of the space station, monitoring humanity's new weapon systems. The technology would seem impossible to alien scientists. Phase shift cannons that could ignore any known shield. Gravity manipulation devices that could crush ships without firing a shot. Defensive systems that bent space itself around human vessels. Doctor, the weapons are showing some interesting readings, her assistant reported. What kind of readings? The phase cannons are detecting weaknesses in alien ship designs that we didn't expect. Their hulls are actually more fragile than we thought. If we're not careful, we might do more damage than intended. Hye Jin frowned. Humanity had not returned to the galaxy to become conquerors. Run simulations on reduced power settings. We want to disable their ships, not destroy them. The alien fleet arrived in the threshold system like a storm of metal and energy. Ships from a dozen species filled space with their massive presence. The Valthari Empire had sent their newest dreadnoughts. The Nexus Coalition brought their fastest attack vessels. Even the peaceful Zephyrian Collective had contributed medical and support ships. Supreme Commander Ulth Goran commanded the combined fleet from his flagship, a massive vessel that had served as the Coalition's command ship in 3 different wars. He was a veteran of countless battles, but he had never faced humans before. Sir, we're detecting the human fleet, his sensor officer reported. 50 ships in defensive formation around what appears to be a space station. Only 50 ships? Ulthgoran couldn't hide his relief. We outnumber them 6 to 1. This should be over quickly. Ambassador Kreltha, the diplomatic representative aboard the flagship, felt less confident. Her species had always been good at reading the intentions of others. Something about this situation felt wrong. Commander, perhaps we should attempt communication before taking aggressive action. she suggested. The time for diplomacy passed when they invaded galactic space, Ulthgoran replied. All ships assume attack formation. Prepare to engage. Admiral Song watched the alien fleet spread out like they were surrounding a trapped enemy. She almost felt sorry for them. 3 centuries of fighting each other had taught them tactics that were completely useless against humanity's new technology. Admiral, the aliens are moving to surround us, her tactical officer reported. Let them. It will make what happens next more impressive. Open a communication channel to the alien fleet. The channel opened, carrying Song's voice to every ship in the alien armada. This is Fleet Admiral Mireille Song of the Terran Federation, Navy. You have entered the threshold system, which is now under human protection. You have one opportunity to withdraw peacefully. Choose wisely. Supreme Commander Ulthgoran's response was immediate. Unknown human commander, you are vastly outnumbered. Surrender now and we will consider mercy. I see, Song replied calmly. You choose poorly. All human ships demonstrate our capabilities. Minimum force, maximum impression. What happened next changed the way the galaxy thought about warfare, forever. The human ships didn't move in the way alien vessels moved. Instead of accelerating gradually, they simply appeared in different locations, as if they had jumped through folded space. Their weapons didn't fire energy beams or projectiles. Instead, they created fields of distorted space that made alien ships simply stop working. In 30 seconds, the human fleet disabled over 100 alien vessels without destroying a single one. Ships that had been charging weapons, suddenly, found their power systems offline. Vessels that had been moving at attack speed simply stopped in place, their engines mysteriously failing. Impossible, whispered Ulthgoran, watching his massive fleet become helpless with surgical precision. How are they doing this? Sir, our weapon systems are offline, his tactical officer reported in panic. Engineering reports that our power core is stable, but somehow the energy isn't reaching our weapons. Ambassador Kreltha studied the tactical display with growing amazement. Commander, look at the pattern of disabled ships. They're not trying to destroy us. They're demonstrating that they could destroy us, but choosing not to. On the human space station, Colonel Kang watched the demonstration with professional interest. No casualties, minimal damage, maximum psychological impact. Admiral Song always was good at making a point. Sir, some of the alien ships are trying to retreat, reported Lieutenant Park. Let them go. The ones who are smart enough to run will spread the word to the rest of the galaxy. Sometimes the best victory is the one where your enemy defeats themselves. Dr. Lim monitored the weapons systems during the demonstration. The technology was working even better than expected. The phase cannons had targeted specific systems on alien ships, disabling them without causing hull breaches or life support failures. Doctor, we're getting some interesting data from the disabled ships, her assistant reported. Their shield frequencies are completely different from our historical records. They've actually made their defenses weaker over the past 3 centuries. How is that possible? It looks like they've been so focused on fighting each other that they've forgotten how to defend against external threats. Their shields are designed to stop the weapons they use on each other, not the weapons we use. Pilot Zenkara was one of the few alien fighters who managed to get close to a human ship before being disabled. She watched in amazement as the human vessel seemed to phase in and out of reality, avoiding her weapons with impossible ease. This is Fighter 7, she reported to her carrier. The human ships, they're not obeying the normal laws of physics. They're moving through space like it's not even there. Her carrier's response was full of static. The human ships were jamming communications across the entire alien fleet, but in a way that didn't interfere with life support or navigation systems. Fleet Marshal Zarthek commanded one of the few alien ships that hadn't been disabled yet. He was a veteran warrior who had fought in dozens of battles, but he had never seen anything like this. All remaining ships, fall back to defensive positions, he ordered. Do not engage the humans unless they fire first. Sir, they haven't fired at all, his weapons officer pointed out. They've disabled our ships without using what we would consider weapons. Zarthek realized the terrible truth. They're not fighting us. They're teaching us a lesson. They're showing us that they could destroy our entire fleet without breaking a sweat. But they're choosing not to. Admiral Song opened communications again, her voice carrying across the now quiet battlefield. Supreme Commander Ulth Goran, do you still wish to engage my fleet in combat? The silence stretched for long minutes before Ulth Goran responded. Admiral Song, I request permission to speak with you directly. Granted. You may dock with our station under truce conditions. As the alien commander's shuttle approached the human space station, Ambassador Kreltha felt a mixture of fear and hope. Fear for what humanity had become during their exile. Hope for what this might mean for the galaxy's future. The age of alien dominance was over. The question now was what would replace it. The negotiations had failed. After 6 hours of talks, Supreme Commander Ulth Goran and Admiral Song could not reach an agreement. The aliens demanded that humanity submit to galactic authority and accept limits on their technology. Humanity refused to bow to the same species that had exiled them 3 centuries ago. You leave us no choice, Ulth Goran had said before returning to his fleet. The galaxy will not accept human dominance. Admiral Song had replied simply, then the galaxy will learn to accept it anyway. Now, the largest space battle in recorded history was about to begin. Captain Sung-Ho Ryu commanded the experimental human dreadnought Thunder of Earth, a ship so advanced that even other humans found its capabilities hard to believe. At 8 kilometers long, it was larger than some space stations and carried weapons that could reshape the battlefield with a single shot. Captain, all human ships report ready for combat, his tactical officer reported. Very well. Remember, our goal is to end this conflict quickly with minimum loss of life. These aliens are not our enemies. They're just afraid and making bad choices because of that fear. Lieutenant Ye-Jin Oh was experiencing her first major battle as a bridge officer on the human cruiser Harmony's Edge. At 25 years old, she had trained for this moment her entire life. But seeing hundreds of alien ships preparing to attack was still overwhelming. Lieutenant, monitor alien communication channels, ordered her captain. I want to know if they're coordinating their attacks or just charging in blindly. Ye-Jin listened to the alien transmissions with growing sadness. Captain, they're terrified. Half their ships are reporting equipment failures from crew panic. They know they can't win, but they feel like they have to try. On the alien side, Fleet Marshal Zarthek prepared his forces for what he knew would be a disaster. His species had a saying, when facing a storm, sometimes you must fly into it to reach the calm beyond. He hoped there would be something left of his fleet to reach that calm. All ships, attack Formation 7, he ordered. Concentrate fire on their largest vessel. If we can disable their command ship, we might have a chance. Pilot Zenkara launched from her carrier, along with 200 other alien fighters. Her mission was to get close enough to the human ships to find weak points in their defenses. It was probably a suicide mission, but someone had to try. Fighter Squadron Alpha, follow my lead, she transmitted to her wingmates. Remember, we're not trying to win this fight. We're trying to give our people a chance to survive it. The battle began when 300 alien ships opened fire simultaneously. Space lit up with energy beams, missile trails, and the bright flashes of exploding ordnance. It was the most concentrated firepower ever assembled in galactic history. None of it touched the human ships. Master Chief Gunwoo Shin watched from the observation deck of his ship as alien weapons fire passed harmlessly through the space where human vessels had been moments before. The human phase shift technology made them effectively untouchable by conventional weapons. It's like watching children fight shadows, he said to his squad. They can't hit what isn't really there. The human response was swift and precise. Instead of the overwhelming firepower the aliens expected, humanity used surgical strikes that disabled key systems on enemy ships. Alien vessels found their weapons offline, their engines dead, their life support systems flickering. Captain Ryu's dreadnought Thunder of Earth demonstrated the true power of human technology. Its main weapon fired once, creating a wave of distorted space that passed through the alien formation like a gentle breeze. Every ship it touched simply stopped working, floating helplessly in space with all systems temporarily shut down. Remarkable, Ryu observed. The quantum disruption field works even better than predicted. We've disabled 60 ships with a single shot and caused no permanent damage. Lieutenant O monitored the aftermath of the attack. Captain, alien casualties are minimal. Most ships report only minor injuries from crews being thrown around when their artificial gravity failed. No life support failures, no hull breaches. Good. Make sure our medical teams are ready to assist if needed. Just because we're fighting them doesn't mean we want them to suffer unnecessarily. Fleet Marshal Zarthek watched his carefully planned attack formation fall apart in minutes. Ships that had been moving in perfect coordination now drifted helplessly through space. His own flagship was one of the few vessels still operational. Sir, over 2/3 of our fleet is disabled, his tactical officer reported. The human ships are moving between our formations at will. Our weapons can't lock onto them. Then we'll ram them, Zarthek decided. All remaining ships, collision course with the human vessels. If we're going to die, we'll take some of them with us. But even ramming attacks failed against human technology. Alien ships found themselves passing through empty space as human vessels phased out of normal reality at the moment of impact. It was like trying to ram a ghost. Pilot Zenkara managed to get closer to the human ships than any other fighter pilot. What she saw changed her understanding of warfare forever. The human vessels weren't just technologically superior. They moved with a grace and intelligence that suggested something beyond mere machines. Fighter Command. This is Zenkara, she transmitted. The human ships. I think they're alive somehow. They're not just following programmed maneuvers. They're adapting to each attack in real time. Her observation was more correct than she knew. Human ships were controlled by artificial intelligence systems so advanced that they bordered on true consciousness. These AI partners worked with human crews in perfect harmony, creating a fusion of organic creativity and electronic precision. The turning point came when Captain Ryu decided to end the battle decisively. The Thunder of Earth moved to the center of the alien formation and activated its most impressive weapon, a gravity manipulation system that could create artificial black holes. All alien vessels, this is Captain Seung-ho Ryu, he broadcast on all frequencies. I am about to demonstrate a weapon that could destroy every ship in your fleet instantly. I want you to understand that I am choosing not to use it at full power. Duburi. Artificial black hole appeared for exactly 3 seconds, long enough for every alien ship to feel its pull and see their instruments go wild with gravitational readings. Then it vanished, leaving space normal again except for the unmistakable message. Humanity could have destroyed them all but chose not to. The silence that followed was absolute. Supreme Commander Ulth Goran finally broke the quiet. All ships, cease fire. All ships, power down weapon systems. His voice carried the weight of total defeat. Admiral Song, we surrender. Admiral Song's response was immediate and unexpected. Commander Ulth Goran, we do not accept your surrender. We are not conquerors. We are offering you a choice. Continue fighting a battle you cannot win, or work with us to build something better. On his ship, Master Chief Shin began organizing rescue operations for disabled alien vessels. All right, people, you know the drill. Medical teams to ships with casualties, engineering teams to ships with critical system failures. These beings may have been shooting at us 5 minutes ago, but they're in trouble now and we help people in trouble. Lieutenant O coordinated the rescue efforts from her ship's communication station. Chief Shin, the alien crews are confused. They expected us to either destroy them or enslave them. They don't understand why we're helping them. Then maybe it's time they learned what humanity actually stands for, Shin replied. Fleet Marshal. Zarthek found himself being rescued by the same humans his fleet had just tried to kill. Human medical teams worked alongside alien engineers to repair damaged systems and treat injured crew members. The efficiency and compassion of the human rescue operation was almost as impressive as their military victory. Why are you helping us? He asked Captain Ryu when the human commander came aboard his ship to check on rescue operations. Ryu considered the question seriously. Because that's what strength is for, Marshal. Not to destroy those weaker than you, but to protect them. Your species sent us away because you were afraid we would become monsters. We came back to show you what we chose to become instead. As the battle ended and rescue operations continued, pilot Zenkara reflected on what she had witnessed. The humans had demonstrated power beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen, but they had used that power with restraint and mercy. Maybe, she thought, the galaxy exiled the wrong species. Maybe we should have been trying to learn from them, instead of fearing them. The Battle of Nexus Prime was over. Humanity had won completely, but more importantly, they had won in a way that offered hope for the future. The question now was whether the galaxy would be wise enough to accept the hand that humanity was extending in friendship. 6 months had passed since the Battle of Nexus Prime, and the galaxy was still adjusting to its new reality. The old order, where dozens of species fought endless wars over resources and territory, was giving way to something unprecedented. Cooperation guided by humanity's steady hand. President Da Yun-jon stood before the rebuilt Galactic Council chambers, preparing to give the most important speech in galactic history. She was the first human to address the Council in 300 years, and every word would be analyzed by billions of beings across thousands of worlds. Fellow citizens of the galaxy, she began, her voice carrying to every corner of known space through advanced human communication networks. Today we do not celebrate conquest. We celebrate the possibility of peace. Ambassador Wu Jinhan worked tirelessly in the weeks leading up to this moment, meeting with representatives from every major species. His job was to help create the framework for a new galactic government, one based on merit and cooperation rather than fear and competition. The Valthari delegation has agreed to the proposed trade agreements, he reported to President John before her speech. The Nexus Coalition is interested in technology-sharing programs. Even the warrior clans of the Korthak are asking about joint military training exercises. And the resistance movements? Still active, but losing support. Most citizens see the benefits of cooperation. It's mainly the old political leaders who can't accept the changes. Admiral Jae-sung Kwon commanded the new peacekeeping forces that maintained stability across the galaxy. Instead of conquest fleets, humanity deployed ships designed to mediate conflicts and protect trade routes. The mere presence of human vessels was usually enough to prevent wars before they started. Admiral, we're receiving a distress call from the Outer Rim territories, his communications officer reported. Pirates are attacking civilian shipping in the Viridian system. Dispatch Task Force 7, Kwon ordered. Standard peacekeeping. Protocols. Disable the pirates, rescue the civilians, and leave the system better than we found it. The pirates in question were soon to learn why criminal activity had become much more difficult since humanity's return. Human ships appeared in the Viridian system within hours, their advanced sensors immediately locating the pirate base hidden in an asteroid field. The battle lasted less than 10 minutes. The pirates' weapons couldn't touch the human ships, while humanity's non-lethal pacification systems left the criminals floating in space, unharmed but completely helpless. The rescued civilians watched in amazement as human rescue teams provided medical care and escort protection without asking for payment. On Nexus Prime, Councillor Mervak struggled to adapt to the new political reality. He had spent decades climbing the political ladder in a system based on species rivalry and backroom deals. Now, suddenly, advancement depended on actual competence and the ability to work with others. Councillor, the human ambassador is requesting a meeting about the education exchange program, his aide informed him. Mervak sighed. Schedule it for tomorrow, and make sure our education specialists are present. The humans actually expect us to know what we're talking about when we make decisions. The education exchange program was one of humanity's most successful initiatives. Young beings from across the galaxy could study on human worlds, learning advanced science and technology, alongside human values of cooperation and rational problem-solving. In return, humans learned about alien cultures and perspectives, creating a generation that truly understood diversity as strength. Youth leader. Kixhan was part of the first exchange class, a young alien studying engineering on New Terra, humanity's capital world in their hidden sector beyond the galactic rim. What he saw there challenged everything he had been taught about humans. "They're not conquerors at all," he wrote to his family back home. "They're teachers. Every human I've met is eager to share knowledge and help others learn. Their cities are beautiful, their technology is incredible, but most importantly, their society actually works. Different human cultures live together in harmony, supporting each other instead of competing." Dr. Junseo Kim, the director of the exchange program, worked with alien students every day. His job was to help them understand not just human technology, but human philosophy. "Technology is only as good as the wisdom of those who use it," he often told his students. "Your species have spent centuries fighting over resources. Humans learned to create resources instead. You fought over territory. We learned to make territory. You fought over differences. We learned to celebrate them." The transformation wasn't always smooth. Some species struggled to accept human leadership no matter how benevolent. The hegemony of Zarkon, a militaristic empire that had dominated its region of space for millennia, refused to participate in the new galactic order. Emperor Vraktos of the hegemony issued a public challenge to humanity. "We do not bow to any species regardless of their technology. The hegemony will never submit to human rule." President John's response was swift and measured. "The Terran Federation does not seek submission from anyone. However, if the hegemony chooses to threaten peaceful species or disrupt galactic trade, we will respond appropriately." The showdown came when hegemony forces attacked a neutral colony world, expecting humanity to be too busy with governance to respond quickly. They were wrong. Admiral Kwan's peacekeeping fleet arrived within hours and ended the attack without a single human casualty or permanent damage to hegemony ships. Emperor Vraktos found his entire invasion fleet disabled and drifting in space, while human rescue teams provided medical assistance to his own soldiers. The demonstration of power combined with mercy finally convinced even the hegemony's leadership that cooperation was preferable to conflict. On the colony world that had been attacked, young colonist Lirahan met human soldiers for the first time. She had grown up hearing stories about humans as monsters from dark space. Instead, she found beings who risked their own safety to protect people they had never met. "Why did you help us?" she asked Master Sergeant Hyojin Cho, who was helping rebuild damaged structures with advanced human construction equipment. "Because that's what neighbors do," Cho replied simply. "We all live in the same galaxy. When your house is damaged, it's everyone's responsibility to help repair it." The economic changes were as dramatic as the political ones. Humanity introduced technologies that made resource scarcity obsolete. Fusion reactors provided unlimited, clean energy. Automated manufacturing systems could build anything from raw materials. Agricultural technology could make any world fertile and productive. Trade Minister Kyung-Soo Lim worked with alien economists to transition their societies from scarcity-based competition to abundance-based cooperation. The old model assumed that one person's gain had to be another person's loss, he explained to a gathering of galactic business leaders. Human economics is based on the idea that everyone can gain together. The results spoke for themselves. Worlds that had been poor for centuries became prosperous within months of joining the new economic system. Species that had fought wars over resources found themselves with more than they needed and the ability to help others. Artist Na-Young Park had a different role in humanity's integration with the galaxy. As head of the Cultural Exchange Commission, she worked to preserve and celebrate the unique aspects of each species while building bridges between them. "Every species brings something valuable to the galactic community," she said during a festival celebrating diversity. Valthari precision, Nexus adaptability, Korthak courage, human innovation. Together we're stronger than any of us could be alone. The festival, held simultaneously on hundreds of worlds, featured art, music, and literature from every known species. For the first time in galactic history, beings celebrated their differences instead of fearing them. As President John concluded her historic speech to the Galactic Council, she looked out at representatives from dozens of species, all working together to build a better future. 3 centuries ago, this galaxy chose fear over hope, division over unity, competition over cooperation, she said. "You sent us away because you were afraid of what we might become. We have returned to show you what we chose to become. Not your conquerors, but your partners. Not your rulers, but your neighbors. Not your superiors, but your friends. The applause that followed came from beings who had once considered humans their greatest threat. Now they saw humanity as their greatest hope. Elder Vexai, now over 400 years old, sat in the council chambers and reflected on the changes he had witnessed. Perhaps, he thought, exile was the best thing that ever happened to humanity. It forced them to become worthy of the power they possess. In the months and years that followed, the galaxy would face new challenges and opportunities. There would be resistance from those who profited from the old system of conflict and scarcity. There would be growing pains as different species learned to work together effectively. But for the first time in galactic history, there was genuine hope for a future where all beings could thrive together. Humanity had returned not as the monsters that the galaxy had feared, but as the teachers and protectors that the galaxy desperately needed. The age of endless war was ending. The age of cooperation had begun, and at the center of it all,